Today I'm going to talk about how to configure Firewall in the PowerShell. But before we get into playing around with the Firewall, we need to talk a little bit about the PowerShell. PowerShell operates in the same fashion as DOS or the command line. You have a console, and whatever input you put into the console of commands, you get an output and a result of those commands. The caveat is the fact that it uses real program language developed by Microsoft called .NET Framework. The framework helps applications work from within a Windows environment. The PowerShell was meant to run those programs from within its own console. It is a quick and more powerful way to configure the Windows environment through object-oriented programming. Some examples of object-oriented programming are JavaScript, Java, C++, Python, and the list goes on. Object-oriented programming is in a whole other realm of a course that's above A+. What you need to know is that the PowerShell uses this to create commands and operations of applications through its consoles called commandlets. Commandlets is the specific task or operation that is used as the scripting language for PowerShell. The construct is verb-noun, which makes it easier for the user to interface with the command line. Verbs are action-oriented words such as add, get, set, and update. Nouns describe what commands to act on, such as service, ACL, alias, child item. An example is get child item, or get service, or set alias. So you just basically get the verb, tell it what to do, and the noun would be like the task manager, get task manager, that kind of thing. What makes PowerShell unique is that its features are based off what framework you have downloaded, what version operating system you are running on, and what other program or product that you're using it with. This way, developers of an application or product can create a library of language that can be integrated with the framework and utilized with the operating system. Okay, I was planning to use the virtual player for this. However, the virtual player is not letting me configure the firewall. It's actually configuring the actual firewall on the computer. So I'm not sure exactly what's going on with that. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to do it on the actual laptop here. So here we are. I'm not going to go into too much detail about this. PowerShell is a whole nother ball game. For the most part, I'm going to do a whole nother lesson on PowerShell eventually, but I wanted to show you how to manipulate the firewall through the PowerShell, so I'm just going to go ahead and do that. So the commandlet for this, for adjusting the firewall or adding a rule to the firewall, would be new firewall rule. So it would be new dash net firewall rule. And there's going to be display name. The display name means that I'm going to name the rule, and it's going to show up in the firewall as this name that we're going to call it now. We're going to call it trace, all caps. And then we're going to do direction, which means which way do we want the rule to allow the direction coming in or out. We're just going to say inbound. We want the traffic to come in through the firewall into the computer. Program. And what program are we going to run today? I'm just going to run traceroute. network.exe, trace route, yes. Just checking my grammar here. All right, should do it. As you can see, the commandlet completed successfully. And if we look here, look for it down here, and there it is. There's the rule. All right, it's pretty simple. Now I'm just going to show you how to run the script from an actual file. We're going to use the ISE. Basically, I have it set up this way so I can take the command, type it out here, make it into a file, and save it, which it did here. All right, that's the entire, and then I can save it. It's just like a command file. I can name it. I'll call it trace 99 PS1 and save it. All right, which I already did. And unfortunately, you can't open it like you would open a command file. It won't let you. I can run as PowerShell, but it's just going to close the window and nothing's going to happen. It's going to say that you can't do it. So what you have to do is you actually have to open it from the actual command line. Like I said, this would probably be easier just using the GUI itself. But if you wanted to, if I run trace 99, and it did it. And we can check it real quick. There it is. Big trace and little trace. When dealing with PowerShell, it is a quick way to manipulate anything in Windows environment. It's all based on .NET framework, and when you're talking about making adjustments to 1,000 systems within a network and you're in a domain, this becomes very prevalent in making adjustments on the server side. So just be aware that you may be able to do this in command line a lot faster when it comes to a single system using the command line versus using the PowerShell. But I just want to introduce you guys on how actually PowerShell does, how PowerShell is involved when it comes to operating systems and dealing with multiple systems. So this is just just to get your feet wet and to look at it. I advise you to get on, if you have virtual players at home, get on them and play around with this. Look up some things within the firewall and just play around with it and get used to it, because the more you learn about Windows firewall, the more, and when you get into networking, there's going to be a lot of the similar things that you're doing, but you're doing on a switch or a router, and it's going to help you have some common knowledge on what you're going to be doing with those. So the more you learn now while you're in here about firewalls, the more you're going to, the easier it is, the easier it's going to be to learn about switches and routers and how the firewalls work within those. Okay? All right. The next lesson will be about firewalls, advanced firewalls within the Windows Firewall utility. It'll be about 5 minutes, 5-10 minutes long, about how to adjust it on a granular level when we're talking about ports and protocols. Okay, so uh, we'll get into that as soon as I can, and see you in the next video.